feeling of discontent, feeling that it's not going to be okay, that it's going to somehow not work in your favor, that no matter what you do, it always happens that way, right? You never get it. The other people always get it. You don't win the spelling bee. Somebody else wins the spelling bee. You don't, get that raffle ticket. Someone else always gets it. I never get it. We actually work against ourselves every time we think that it's never going to happen to me. I'm never going to get it. We're continually limiting ourselves because we want to think small. Yeah. Like I told you when 6 months ago when I first started researching public speaking. See, what is this? I was moving out of my comfort zone. I had just got into that comfort zone. So far, I had been just a housewife and a mother, and I had never really worked in a company or in an office. But then I started writing, and I had to teach myself a lot of things. I had to teach myself to type, to correct, to use Microsoft Word, to put the, format it and get it into an e-format and put it up on different websites and deal with social networking and learn how to work that all. So I had taught myself a lot of things. I had to teach myself to promote my book, to write to people. All that required a lot of effort. And now, since I'd done that, I guess I was ready for the next level, which is why this was suggested to me, to move into the area of public speaking. Like I mentioned to you a little earlier, the very first website I looked at had celebrities, big celebrities, the names that are household names, and their fees were like unbelievable. And, they were the big names, done movies. I said, I'm not in this category, I can't do this, I just can't do this. The next one had business entrepreneurs. And I was like, I can't do this. I turned it all off for about 6 months. I just did not want to think that I could talk or that anyone would give me an opportunity. I mean, even if I could talk, who was going to give me an opportunity to talk? Who wants to listen to me? That was what I was telling myself. And as long as I was telling myself, nobody wants to listen to you, nobody wants to hear you, you have nothing that great to say, you're just a housewife. That was all that was coming my way. More dishes, more laundry, more food to cook. Just a dull, boring life. And in November of last year, I thought to myself, I said, is this all I was here for? It can't be. There has to be something more. I'm just limiting myself. I have to start doing something. And from nowhere, from thin air, the energy came to start to change the messages I was giving to myself. Because what does the universe know? It only knows what you tell it. It only understands what you put out. If you're putting out these negative images, that's what it's giving you. If you're saying mediocrity, nobody in my family has ever done it, how am I ever going to get out of it? All my family has only done their masters. I'm never going to do a PhD. I'm never going to amount to anything. This is what happens. We sell ourselves so short. We're capable of so much, but we think we're nothing. You think that I'm too small. So what if I don't like, I'm against this big issue. I'm too small. What I say doesn't matter. The Dalai Lama says, never think you're so small. Have you ever tried locking yourself in a room with a mosquito? create havoc, right? Mosquito can create havoc. Does it even have its own sense of how big it is or how much of a difference it makes? Nobody or nothing is too so small. In my book, my first book, When the Lotus Blooms, I have a section where I write about an untouchable, a Parayan called Velandi. And one of the things I write about him, and the reason that I write about him, is that he never had a sense of how important his life was. If that Parayan did not come to the house and clean out the toilets and take out the garbage for a week, can you imagine the smell in the home? Or can you imagine how much vermin and insects would be there? That Parayan was such an important person that the Brahmin woman's life was defined by him. She depended on the Parayan, whether she liked it or not, whether they said that he belongs to a lower caste and she is this, all that didn't make a difference. His job was so important. It is so important even today. I remember a few years back, there was a cyclone in Bihar. And as usual, the devastation was so bad that a lot of people died. And what happened was that everyone belonged to a higher class and refused to deal with dead bodies. Because in India, traditionally, as you know, only certain classes are allowed to deal with dead bodies. So the untouchables were flown in a plane to Bihar to take care of the dead bodies. Extremely important, the job that they were doing, right? No matter what job you do, no matter how small you think you are, you can make a difference. We all make a difference. Make a difference in someone's life. We never should think or limit ourselves saying that it's never going to happen to me, I'm too small, nobody in my family has done it, who's had a college education, in my family we've all done IT. I can't start my own company, oh my God, I could never run my own company. Why not? Why not? If you don't dream, how will it happen? You have to first start with a dream. You have to first start with something. Only then things can work to make it happen. Even till this moment, I have a dream that 500 people will learn meditation from me this year. It hasn't happened yet, but that dream is very much alive. I'm very confident that somehow or the other, by the end of this year, 500 people will learn meditation from me. I don't know how it's going to happen. I've left it to the universe, and I know that its powers of organization are far superior than my own limited ability to think. It's got a greater network it's connected to more people than I am, and it will bring those 500 people in my path somehow. Have I ever talked to you about the 5 monkey experiment? There's an experiment done by, I can't remember, they talked, I think I saw it first in TED Talks, and I can send you all the link to it, it's interesting. So what these researchers did, they put 3 monkeys into a room with a pole, and there was a bunch of bananas on the top. And when the first monkey immediately went to climb for the bananas, they dropped a bucket of water on it. It scampered down. Then the second monkey went and tried to climb up, and they dropped a bucket of water and it scampered down. They tried several times, but every time this ice cold water was dropped on it. So after a period of time, all 3 monkeys stopped climbing up the pole. So then what did the researchers do? They removed one monkey and they brought a second monkey in. And that monkey came into the room. First thing it wanted to do is climb up the pole. But the other two monkeys pulled it down and would not let it climb up and get the bananas. That monkey tried several times, but these monkeys were really insistent and kept pulling it down. So after a while, this monkey stopped climbing up. Then they replaced another monkey and another monkey, and they kept replacing monkeys. None of these monkeys were the original. But none of these monkeys climbed up that pole to get those bananas. They didn't know why, but they knew that they couldn't get that. That was not for them. So who is telling you in your surroundings, you can't get this, you can't do this, you can't achieve this? Joel Osteen says, I have one message for you. Go get your bananas. And while you're at it, get one for me. That's what he says. Right? So look at the limitations that we're placing on ourselves. We're just listening to all the chatter that people say, that everyone around says that it cannot be done. It cannot be done in the short run, perhaps. But we've got plenty of time. You have to function as if you have all the time in the world. Even though we work with deadlines and we work with our time constraints, the feeling that you do your work with, if you work thinking that you've got all the time in the world to achieve all this, you've got lifetimes to do it, you're going to give your best effort. You're going to do everything correctly with the best effort. We have to stop this habit of discontent, because discontentment is a habit. What happens is that you've got to drive your fancy car with as much joy as you drive that ramshackle one you have right now. You've got to be happy in the home that you have that has a $200,000 mortgage, so that when that $1 million mortgage comes, it's as good. And you know what? It's coming. It's coming. If you're equally happy and live in gratitude now, that will come. Don't think it's not for you. It's not for you only because you don't want it. It's only because you're limiting yourself. You're like, where's my $1 million? Where am I going to get $1 million home? Of course you're going to get it. You're going to get the $1 million home. You're going to get the $500,000 car. You're going to be able to take care of everybody in your family and more. Look at Bill Gates. He's trying so hard to get rid of his money, and the more money he gives away, the more comes his way. He's unable to get rid of it. Look at the guy. I mean, he's amazing. He's just amazing. We can't sell ourselves short. Because what will happen is that when you get that $1 million home, you'll still be unhappy. It'll still be another condition you need to be happy. When I get that car, I'll be happy. When I get the job, I'll be happy. When I have a child, I'll be happy. When I have this, I'll be... No. You're happy right now. But you have that dream in mind. You have a big dream in mind. And that dream is going to happen. But don't be unhappy or discontent now, because you're jeopardizing the chances of that dream coming to you. Everything is there in your destiny. It's all about how you create it. You've got all the clay with you, and you can make the pot any way you want. If you just let that lump of clay lie on the wheel, it'll lie on the wheel forever with no shape. You give it a shape, but don't forget it is still a lump of clay. Right? That's what you started with. Right now you have to give up that idea of being unhappy, of thinking you can't do it, thinking that this is never going to work. You have have to develop the attitude of being positive and thinking big and thinking outside the box. So even when I used to run my Bal Vihar, it was like if 2 children come, you run it with the same interest as if 20 children come. Yes, it's much more enjoyable when 20 come. But you do it with the same amount of effort. What you put in is exactly the same. So, we have to examine. We're now meditators. It is not on the surface. We have to examine our thought process. We have to catch it when we're getting into the negative. Before the chain of thoughts start coming. I'm not good. It's never going to happen to me. I don't deserve it. I'm really not worth anything. It's one thing leads to another. One thing leads to another. Your self-esteem is gone by then. Before that happens, when the first thought arises that says you can't do it, you're going to challenge it. You have to challenge that thought right there and stop that chain. Self-awareness it's all about self-awareness. It's all about the knowledge. It's all about using the knowledge to make your life better. After all, what is the purpose of this life? It's only to be happy. And how can you be happy if you're unhappy? If you're discontent with everything, how can you be content? It is not to say that being content is being reticent and, just making do with what you have. Not at all. It's being in gratitude and still admiring the moon. Living on earth and still admiring the moon. You don't have to be on the moon to admire. In fact, you won't be able to admire the moon if you're on the moon. By being here, by being on earth, you can have a better appreciation of the moon. So when you're on earth, when you're here, wherever you are, feel that sense of contentment all the time with everything around you. Because we're going inside and we know that you are happiness, you are contentment, you are what you seek. I say that again and again. You are the happiness you seek. You are the peace you seek. You are the joy you seek. That's why we're going inward. The whole purpose is to calm the mind so that we can allow the knowledge to enter our bodies almost into our cells, so that we're practicing so much that it becomes a part of who we are. That there's no effort. That we catch all the negative before it takes over. That we catch these things. So far we've we've been conditioning ourselves to believing the negative. So we're going to try and break it now. And your exercise this week is to keep a journal with you. Keep a little book. Keep a book. And catch yourself. When that negative thought comes, write it down. I caught myself today thinking that I was never going to get this done. See how many times in a day you're feeding yourself negative messages, just purely as an exercise. I do it at least 50 times a day. But either I catch myself or Rajiv catches me, one of us. We're both very lucky to be on the same path, so we help each other to get back on the narrow. If you don't have your spouse helping you, you don't have someone helping you, you have to help yourself. And one of these things is a very good way is to keep a little journal. You don't even have to write down big things, but just put a marking. The very fact that you catch yourself means you're aware. If you're aware, there's consciousness. If there's consciousness, negativity dies. Pure and simple. So, let's use these sessions, the whole purpose. Make changes for the better so that we live very peaceful lives. We contribute to the world and contribute to our own growth with awareness, peace, and happiness. No room for discontent.